And welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are. And I am Wesley Sykes. And through the other side of the ether is the John Wick to my John Wick. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, Baba Yaga for hire.
I was rewatching I guess it's weird saying rewatching your client, but I was rewatching the movie that you're going to be representing today, and remember like hearing that so much at the beginning of that episode, that movie, and then the first one. It's funny how like you still hear it in 3 and 4, but not quite as much.
Yeah, the Russian guy in John Wick 2 is great. He's like an all-time Russian villain. He goes back to like Bad Boys 2. Just a great classic Russian villain there. But we'll get into that because of course this week we'll be stepping back onto the debate podium, stepping back up to the debate podium, stepping back into the debate podium. Anyway, we're getting the dust off the debate podium to discuss John Wick 4 and John Wick 2 here in a classic original versus sequel debate. Wait, where am I here? There, I'll work on that sound on the timing on that. But be sure to smash that like button and subscribe on YouTube, CMM Podcast, and follow us on Twitter if you'd like at our rebranded Twitter handle at CMM_podcast, and find all of our archived audio versions of the podcast on Apple and Spotify and anywhere you can download audio versions of the podcast, Nick. But I think it's safe to say spring has sprung, Nick. So, do you have any spring plans now that we're getting into April here, now that we're going out like a lamb?
Yeah, I mean, well, we got a lot of like May's going to be pretty busy for us because like Lauren has a lot of birthdays going on during that time. But other than that, I mean, I wish I could say that I have like, we're probably going to do some day trips to a few places on weekends where we have free time whenever those actually happen. Family's going to be coming up. Actually, now I just remember my family's going to be coming up to visit. My brother's seen my place for, I think, the first time, him and my sister-in-law. So that'll be fun.
Oh, very nice. So that's going to be, because I think spring is everyone's, spring is eternal. Spring is sprung. It's a rebirth period. Everyone, makes plans for this. It's almost like a reset of your New Year's resolution,
Yeah, that's a fair way to look at it. It's also just like, now it's finally like nice out and you can, like, it's just safe to peer your head out the door.
That's true. All that seasonal depression tends to go away once you turn the clocks forward.
It's wild.
Spring forward.
I cannot stand. Wow. I've never been one to really complain about that, Wes. But we were scheduling an interview for TLDR, and we were dealing with a guy overseas. So it was just I don't know if I told you about this already, like off here. But
do they participate in
apparently? Yeah. So it was a guy from Poland, and I was going to mention it later in the comic book minute. But they do. But the thing is, they're not at the same time as us.
Yeah.
So I was like, we almost got savagely screwed up. Thankfully, he was like able to be flexible. But geez.
Yeah, the Eastern time, keeping track of the time zones is something I've really struggled with. That's something I don't enjoy about my day job, is having to schedule meetings like that and just be like, I'm not sure where you are, so I'm always going to put Eastern time and then let you handle it out. You figure it out otherwise.
It's the only way to do it. But do you got anything planned for April?
We're putting together our deck right now. So, we got the baby plan.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's small potatoes, right? Yeah, whatever. Who cares about that, right? But we're putting together the deck. The deck is what I'm really excited about here. So we got the privacy screen up. I finished building and staining a table and benches. So built that from from scratch with these bare hands here. But we're getting legs too. So I just kind of put the tops together. So not as good as you might think, but so the legs are getting delivered. So we'll have like the whole outdoor patio kind of set up. So exciting times, getting everything ready to prep the lawn, because the lawn is still a very young, immature lawn. So we got to let that mature a little bit. All that stuff that you get excited about as homeowners. Did a lot of raking over the weekend. It's good stuff.
Oh, that part sounds fun. But I got to say too, for everybody who's just listening to us in audio version, I'll tell you what, Wes not having a green screen but having like an actual animated background is reason enough to watch the show. Because anytime he gets his hands involved, he's like, I just did construction on my deck, and then one of his hands looks like 4 fingers are missing.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. But that's another reason to smash the like button, subscribe on YouTube there. I love it. But yeah, spring, all the spring projects. I'm spending a lot of time in Home Depot when I'm not, panicking slowly. Yeah. It will be tool time. It will be tool time soon enough. But right now, we'll head over to trending now, where Jonathan Majors was arrested for strangling his girlfriend this weekend.
Oh, damn, son, where'd you find this?
This was all over the internet, Nick, and apparently just to kind of, we got the headline out of the way. He and his team have put out a lot of information saying that he has like written statements and like all these witnesses saying that he that would explain the situation away. Now, none of that has been released yet, but that's been the initial statement. So we'll get that out of the way here. But regardless, strangling, I think it's like a 30-year-old woman who was believed to be his girlfriend or, whatever the situation was with her. I believe that was, again, in New York City. Not good. Any way you slice it, whether he turns out to be exonerated, in some ways the damage is already done.
Yeah, this was mind blowing. I actually didn't know if it was his girlfriend or not. It seemed like it was somebody who was romantically involved. So that was a little bit of that part was a surprising detail for me. But all of this, yeah, it's just like, all around, just a terrible situation. Again, whether or not he's exonerated or if he's found guilty of this, this is terrible news and obviously terrible timing. But she's just a real shock. I mean, seriously, we've been raving about Jonathan Majors for the past month and a half right now. Him and Pedro Pascal. Not to bring him into this, but it's just
right.
Wild.
No, but I mean, those have been to the two dominant forces in Hollywood and entertainment for sure. Yeah, and very bad timing to have a major hit as a boxer too. And this coming out, right? That's not good stuff there. But from a Marvel standpoint, this guy is supposed to be setting up, really like the backbone of this next 10, 12 movie, whatever it's going to be,
Wow.
And it's easy to draw the comparison. I think a lot of people have already done this online to Ezra Miller, right? Because he was kind of another tentpole actor who's, gotten into the limelight for the wrong reasons off screen.
Yeah.
So you kind of wonder how that is going to work. And, from if we're using the Flash as a, barometer, that movie has seemed to be very well received by all test screenings and people who have watched it, people within the industry and everything. So I don't know, he might still be into the fold. I think they're waiting for the critics response or the audience response to see how that movie's going to do. And maybe Marvel has enough time to kind of see what how everyone reacts to Ezra Miller to kind of make their decision. I don't know. Not good.
One would think that Disney's gonna there have been a lot of times in the past where we've seen companies move quickly on things, but with, like you said, the significance of Jonathan Majors within the MCU, I would think they're gonna wait. But I mean, nothing's happened yet, and one would think it would have happened really quickly. But the Ezra Miller stuff too, that's wild. I know they are kind of at different points, but the parallel is kind of crazy. But when you look at Ezra Miller, the one thing that was going for DC in that situation is telling the Flashpoint story, phasing Ezra Miller out. That helps them a ton. The stuff with Jonathan Majors, I mean, he's the new Thanos. He's what everybody's been waiting for. So you're gonna obviously Kang's not gonna get phased out of this stuff, but
no, it would be a recast, I think, 100%. If anything. Right?
So this this could not. So with Ezra Miller timing, for Warner Brothers standpoint, I think they were able to pivot a little bit more easily. Where Marvel, I just from their standpoint, I don't know. I guess it's just wait and see from their standpoint, but it's a tough spot for them.
Yeah, and they got a little bit of time, right? The next movie out is Guardians in May, so they got about 2 months. Just from an overall content consumption, and then there's not really much else after that, right? It's the Marvels coming out in November. We don't really know when Secret Invasion's coming out yet, so this is from a Marvel perspective, this is also coming at very bad timing with the Phase 4 fatigue, Marvel fatigue that's going around, and so people are just maybe giving another reason to tune out when this was maybe a reason to tune in with Jonathan Majors and this Kang character.
Yeah, I mean, there's in no way is this good. And again, we don't know what the actual we'll see where it ends up in the court system and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not for Wes and I to decide, but it's just the timing of it is it's just. I got to imagine everybody that was one of their first thoughts is wow, I can't believe Jonathan Majors did that, and wow, the timing of this is wild on a couple levels.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Maybe this is just a quick overreaction, and people are kind of running with a thread of yarn and kind of pulling out the whole sweater. I think I used that reference right.
I think so.
So again, we'll wait to see what he also says too. But again, either way, this is not a good look in the court of public perception, right?
No, definitely not.
Let's see, maybe something more on a pleasant note, maybe a more nostalgic note.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Found this on Netflix, Nick. Power Rangers reboot on Netflix is coming in April, actually. This is a bit of a surprise, kind of sneaking up on us. This has got Billy. No? Do I have that wrong?
You don't remember? Okay, that's why I made the note about the 30th anniversary special. This is what it is. You don't remember us talking about this before?
I feel like we talked about it, but again, I didn't really know a date. And then I don't know how long ago did we discuss this?
I mean, it might have been January. It was definitely.
Oh, really?
I don't think it was December. I think it was January. Yeah, because the whole big thing was like no Amy Jo Johnson in it, and then
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then my mistake. My apologize.
Well, we saw the trailer for it, and it looks like
we did see the trailer. Yes.
Yes.
But we got, like you said, we got Billy. We got the original black guy. We got the original Red Ranger. We got do we have the Yellow Ranger?
No, so we have Zach. We do not have the original Red Ranger. It's not St.
It's not Jason. We don't have the original Jason.
No, it's Rocky, I believe. It's Rocky because those were the only two originals. And then Trini, I think she passed away years ago. So
geez.
Yeah. So, but it looks like they're gonna use that character and try and have her represented in some capacity in this too.
Maybe a daughter or something like that. They seem like they're trying to keep the next one alive, or something to that effect. There seemed to be a new Ranger in there, but you get all the original suits, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You get all the original Megazords, but the real issue that I had was I was wondering whether there was going to be any sort of reference to the Green Ranger at all.
There was definitely an appearance of the Green Ranger. Like we've seen that in some of these shots, and I don't know.
I was looking for it. I didn't, so I must have missed that. Jeez, I'm just doing really bad on this one.
It's okay. It might have not been on this trailer, in fairness to you, but I remember seeing shots. I just don't know who that's going to be because I know we're getting Aisha, and I think it's Adam. So that was the second Yellow Ranger and the second Black Ranger. I don't know if they're going to be fighting in any capacity. It doesn't seem like it, but yeah, there's in the comics, there's a different Green Ranger that they use that they're using right now. I believe his name is Matt. So I'm not sure, but it seems like there is going to be a Green Ranger in some capacity. I just don't know who.
Okay. All right, then. So it looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit more research. This feels like something in our wheelhouse. Should this be something that's on our radar to review?
I think, I'm going to watch it.
Old pattern.
It seems like something that we could definitely touch upon. It's just a matter of, we don't do a full hour on any subject technically, or sometimes we do, I guess. We could consider it. Maybe watch it and see how it ends up playing out. And
maybe if it's later in April, maybe a shorter episode might work out for everybody involved. So yeah, maybe we can keep that in mind there. But yeah, so 30th anniversary special, that makes me feel very old. So yeah, but that's cool though. So I'm excited to see all the putties and why can't, again, just to kind of really put a bow on me fumbling this segment. Who's the girl that I can't, the villain who I can't remember her name. She looks very different with this mask on either.
Rita Repulsa, where you have
thank you.
You have the same voice, but it's not the same actor. I don't remember. Well, because that was the thing with Power Rangers. They were using stock footage from overseas,
right?
And she was part of that, show and everything. I believe they talk about it in the. What is it? The shows that made us, or the toys?
Oh, the shows that made it. Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. That's cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They talk about some of that there. Yeah.
All right. We got one more here in trending now.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Nick found this on Disney Plus with a Mando check-in. What's going on with The Mandalorian season 3?
All right, so I just wanted to take a little time to talk about it because I feel like I haven't been touching on it as much, in the Discharge Depot or in Trending Now or anything. But we're 4 episodes in right now, and right now I know I've seen Max a little bit down on it. Some other people are a little bit down on it. I don't quite get why, other than episode 3. Episode 3 was one of the worst Disney Plus episodes that we've probably gotten. It was you have the first 8 minutes and the last 8 minutes are fucking awesome. And then you got like 30 something minutes in between about a character who, like, I understand his importance to maybe the larger Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, Grogu story, but also I don't care. I don't need all this. You can like break this up over a few episodes if you want to tell that story, but don't give it all in one chunk, because it was just like that was not a good way to rip off the Band-Aid. But this last episode, we're digging more into the Mandalorian cult. We're spending more time with Bo-Katan, who I love because I just don't know what direction she's going to go in. She's very unstable. And I think right now, like I love the Mandalorian. I know we're not going to talk about it on this show, but I just want to make a point of making sure I check in on it every once in a while.
Every time I hear Bo-Katan reference, I just think of like a Caribbean island resort.
I could see that. Yeah, it does kind of
like Boca Raton, you know.
Oh, like okay. Yep. Okay.
I guess it's like the emphasis on the syllable here. You know, I was just listening to Thelger and Maz, and they're referencing, this is going to be very inside baseball here, but Boston Globe hockey writer Fluto Shinzawa.
Oh, okay.
So the whole time, like, I never knew when his first name ended and his last name started. So I for the longest time I thought it was Flu. And then his last name was Toshinzawa.
Oh, really?
Because everyone always just says it in one. Like, he's got one of those names that just kind of flows into one another. Like, you know, like people just call me Wes, people call you Nick, but there's people who go by a first and last name.
Yeah.
Toshinzawa, that name just kind of like all flows into it. And for the longest time, I never knew where it started or ended. So it's kind of the same thing with Bo-Katan. Like,
yeah, Bo-Katan is definitely a name like that.
So it's Bo-Katan.
Katan, yes, and it's Fluto is his first name, right?
Yeah.
I thought, okay. Yeah,
Flu Toshinzawa I think that's also a person out there in the world somewhere, you know?
Maybe. That's very possible.
I don't know. That's just me. Anyway.
Hashtag name analysis.
A superb choice.
What's going on in the comic book minute, Nick?
Okay, so you know what? Normally I wait to save the TLDR note at the end, but I kind of touched on it earlier. So we have the current writer of the Witcher comics. He's written 3 series for them. He's done one each of the last 2.5 years, I would say. Bartosz Sztyber, talking about different names. That was not how we were pronouncing it at first. We had to get corrected by the people at Dark Horse gently. But yeah, talking to him about writing The Witcher, he is from Poland. And Wes, like we've interviewed people talking about Batman and writing Daredevil and all this different stuff, legacy characters. It comes with certain levels of pressure, especially when you're talking about someone like Batman. With The Witcher, I would think it would in general, but then that being a character that was born in Poland, everything. The writer, I believe, was Polish. Either way, that the books came out from there. I would think it would have like serious pressure. He said Geralt is basically like their Batman from the storytelling, like a legacy character standpoint. Yeah.
So was this your your creme de la creme interview here? Were you really nervous for this, getting ready to interview someone from The Witcher?
Well, no, because he's not. Well, first of all, he's not involved in the show. But
I mean, yeah. I'm sure the show is involved with it from his writing.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But no, I wasn't. He's like, we've interacted with him quite a bit on Twitter and like talking to him and everything. He's a super nice guy. So, no.
Seasoned pro at this point. That's what you're telling me.
That's not. No, that's not what I was going for. But I'll tell you what. We're trying to figure out the time zone stuff with him. Daylight savings. I felt so bad. Wes, I'm telling you, we had daylight savings time happen. I scheduled our interview like the first day of it or something like that, or finalized the timing, whatever it was, or no, maybe it was like right before, I think is what it was. And he was like planning on talking to us at 3 his time, but then it got moved to 2 his time technically because of our shift. But it happened like just so seamlessly, the miscommunication, or the misunderstanding of the time zone shift. And I had no clue. So it's just,
I hear you, man. It's scary stuff. I don't like that at all, because then you come in like either all flustered or you have to reschedule, and then it's just everything's off on a bad foot already. Not fun.
Brutal.
The life of a Zoom.
Yeah, for real. As for comics that are coming out this week, we've got some really good ones. Not a whole lot that are on Joe and I's pull list, but quite a few big time books that we love. Philadelphia issue 29. This arc has been wild. We'll be talking to the creative team on that after issue 30 at some point, which will be the end of that arc. Boom, we got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT Volume 2 issue 4. DC, we got Dark Knights of Steel issue 10, and then from Marvel, we got Daredevil issue 9. So quite a few important titles from all those companies.
All right, I love it. Comic Book Minute and a brand new TLDR episode coming out. A lot to look forward to this week, as always from the comic book guys. Love that stuff here. But looking forward to our next topic, our main topic here, our original versus sequel debate: John Wick 2 versus John Wick 4. Stop that right there. Now, just to remind everybody, because it's been a while since we've done one of these. I feel like it goes back to A Christmas Story, and even then, that was kind of an abridged version. So definitely the first one since 2023 of the new year here. So to remind everybody, we are each going to have about a 60-second opening argument here to debate why John Wick 2 or John Wick 4 is the better movie. And then we're each going to have 1 minute to respond to each of these debate questions here. So Nick is going to go first, or for this example here, he'll go first, have 60 seconds to give his case, present his argument. I'm going to have 30 seconds to respond. Then I have 1 minute to give my retort to the question. And then Nick actually responds 30 seconds to what I have to say. And then we move on and kind of switch back and forth from the mouth to the vagina, right? As the famous Ray Allen tweet goes, right?
Oh, gee. I forgot about that.
Switching back and forth there. That's a part of my take thing. I've just been incepted with that there. That was a random stream of consciousness. Anyway, here, let's go to the tail of the tape for John Wick 2. It was a 2017 movie. After returning to the criminal underworld to repay a debt, John Wick discovers that a large bounty has been put on his life. So this movie is directed by Chad Stahelski, written by Derek Kolstad, starring Keanu Reeves, Ricardo Samarchio, Ian McShane, Ruby Rose, Common, Claudia Girini, Lance Reddick, rest in peace, Lawrence Fishburne, and John Leguizamo. This movie hauled in $171.5 million worldwide, including 92 million domestic and 30 million on its opening domestic weekend. This is a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb with an 89-85 split on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 4.75 on Google reviews, with 90% of Google users liking this movie.
Now, I want to point out real quick to everybody before I talk about the movie that I'm going to be representing. We both have seen John Wick 4.
Yes.
And instead of doing a normal exit survey as we've done in the past, we are just straight up doing an original versus sequel. Wes elected to go with John Wick 2 because that has the highest Rotten Tomatoes grading from the critics.
Yes.
Of the other three movies. I also think, Wes, if I was on the other side of this having to represent, I would have picked John Wick 2 as well. Never mind just looking at
2 or 3 are almost equally rated the same. They're like right up there, kind of neck for neck. But this one I'm a little bit more partial to as well. So I'm glad we're in agreement on that. And then maybe at the end of this whole debate, maybe we can extend an olive branch and then give our official score on John Wick 4.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. And now I also want to remind the people, too, that this is going to be spoiler-filled for John Wick 4, so just keep that in mind going forward. Of course, John Wick 4 just came out. The synopsis: John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. As for the casting crew, this is directed by Chad Stahelski, and written by Shat Hatton, Michael Finch, and Derek Kolstad, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Giorgio, Lance Riddick, rest in peace, Clancy Brown, Ian McShane, Marco Zaror, Bill Skarsgård, Donnie Yen, Amy Kwan, Hiroki Sanada, Shamir Anderson, and Renee Sawayama. As for the box office and critic reception, this hauled in $137.5 million worldwide in its opening weekend, including 64 million domestic and 73.52 million in its opening weekend. That's international. And then, 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 95-95 split on Rotten Tomatoes, which is wild. And then a 4.3 out of 5 on Google reviews.
One thing here that popped out at me: this movie's written by Shat Hatton. Talk about tough name, a little name diagnosis there. How often do you think the kids in the schoolyard call him Shit Hat?
Oh, geez. Yeah.
That's like unavoidable, right?
Yeah, that sure does seem like it, Wes. Sure
And
does.
well, now, of course, we'll put out maybe officially here. We'll put out a poll deciding who wins at the end of this here. A nice Twitter poll. So again, at CMM_podcast, and then maybe finally you can go back to going saying the cast and crews if I win this here, because it's been a long time and it was a real joy that I got to hear you do it this time around. So that was a nice treat for everybody.
It has been a little while since I've had to do that. I'm so pissed too because it's Hiroki Sonata. Maybe it's that simple, but I mean, like, I know that actor. I just fuck. But anyways,
Hiroyoki, yeah, Sonata. Yeah,
I should have looked it up beforehand. That's what I would have done that work. But
Ryan Sawayama is a fun name to say too.
Yeah, that one's an easier one. That's yeah. Anyways, so I think we have what 5.5 questions prepared for each other.
About 5.5 questions here. I'm more than happy to start with the opening arguments. Give that old tongue a rest for you, Nick.
Oh, okay. By all means. All right. So you have 60 seconds on the clock, Wes, to for your opening argument on why John Wick 2 is better than John Wick 4. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages and millions at home watching, I would like to thank everybody for taking their time out here and to say that this is a great franchise to be just a part of here. But I'm here to discuss John Wick 2 and why that's such a great movie, because it's a movie with purpose. Not only does the movie have purpose in what it's trying to tell, but the lead actor has a identifiable purpose that in this. We know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I think the movie that my opponent is going to be arguing loses sight of that. I'm not sure if he knows what he's actually rooting for anymore. And I'm not sure if the director or the movie itself even knows what it's doing, just beyond a shoot 'em up with very cool long action scenes, which both of these movies has a whole bunch of, and they do a great job of it. But I'm here to tell you that John Wick 2 is not only the better of these two movies, but the best of the entire series. Thank you very much.
Nicely done. Good timing.
I was kind of bullshitting there. I didn't really have a whole lot at the beginning.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. There you go, everybody. Wes is bullshitting you.
If I'm nothing but honest, that's just good to be right up front with them.
Oh well, this is a fair point. You're gonna get any bullshit from here. I'm a completely honest attorney, which is not an oxymoron.
yeah, exactly. It's in the family, though. That's where the Esquire comes from. So it's in the blood. So 60 seconds on the clock for debating why John Wick 4 is the best of these two movies, starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Of course, we all know when we go to a John Wick movie what we want to see. Absolutely bananas, nonstop action. And that is what we get in John Wick 4, and a big reason why this is a superior movie. But it doesn't end there, because most important of all, the action is the most important. But in addition to that, this installment in the John Wick franchise has real consequences. Sure, we see some of that in John Wick 2, but as we'll talk about in John Wick 4, there, as you see in the ending, for those who have seen the movie, there are some very dire consequences. So not only do his viewers get out of control nonstop action movie with great mix of really cool characters, something else that's a huge strength of this in particular installment, but we also get we see some heavy hitters in the John Wick universe put in some truly uncomfortable positions.
3,
time,
2,
thanks,
1.
Stinky.
All right, very good then. So we'll stop this here and we'll get right into the debate topic questions. Hopefully everyone at home has a good primer and knows where they stand on everything moving into this here. But if not, maybe we'll look to sway the audience as well here. So question number 1, got to get this one right out of the way. I think my opponent hit the nail on the head. This movie, this whole franchise is all about action. So we start Marshawn Lynch style, all about that action boss. Which movie features the better action sequence? Nick, I'm going to throw it over to you. At 1 minute on the clock, let me reset here.
Okay.
And we'll get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
I mean, when you talk about John Wick 4 and the action sequences, there's so many. To say that there's one better one, I think that's part of the strength of this movie, that you have so many awesome ones. You have the different fight scenes in the Osaka Continental. You have the stairway fight that turns into an elongated stairway fight when John starts falling down the stairs, which I did chuckle at. The final duel, as much as it's a very it's throwback and it's something we don't see in this franchise, and it's just there's an air of like class to this. It's just that I really appreciated. And then
seconds.
The club rave fight was a whole other thing as well. Love seeing, by the way, John Wick used the card to seriously harm that character Killa, I guess was his name. But anyways, to me,
10 seconds.
I think when you look at the Osaka Continental and then the stairway fight, absolutely nonstop, wild, out of control stuff that's superior than anything. You got to, actually no, I have control of the sounders too. I just
you can do that, right? You can hop in there.
Oh boy. All right, this could be a problem, Wes. Okay, so you have 30 seconds to rebuttal.
Yes. Okay.
All right, starting the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
Leave it to my counterpart to avoid the question, just give a whole bunch of answers here. The question was, which movie features the better action sequence, singular? And he could not even pick a single one from his movie here. He's a flip-flopper. He's a fence sitter. It's going to be tough to believe anything he says from here on out there. So that's just where I stand. I rest my case.
Oop, nope, wrong one. My bad. Okay, but
that one's way too long. You can play that. I gotta trim that down. We might get a copyright hit on that one.
Dang it! I only played it for a couple seconds. We should be fine. I hope.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying if you were to let it go, that's why I haven't played it yet.
There we go. I got it now. All right, we're good. All right,
so go ahead. Play it.
You have 60 seconds on the clock to represent your client and tell everybody why John Wick 2 has the better action sequence in 3, 2, 1. Go.
Like if I was my counterpart right now, I might say, the rave scene in John Wick 2 was great, but also, the subway scene is great and the car chase scene is great. But no. I'm going to hammer down on this here. It's the Lincoln Theater going into the subway fight scene. It's roughly an 8-minute scene. It's available on YouTube to go check it out for your free perusal. It's great fun. It's a Lincoln Theater into the subway fight scene with Cassian, played by Common. They're shooting through the fountains that go up and down there with the snipers. The whole crowd's kind of going in and out there. Then they go stealthily shooting at one another in the subway terminal, where Cassian has the high ground again with the silencers. No one's getting hit. They're very precise and like getting these near miss shots. And then literally like out of nowhere, John Wick just deballs a dude on a platform with a knife. You get blades, hand-to-hand combat with Cassian. Then there's a blade in your order. You can pull out your... Damn it.
Could you not hear me?
Time. No, I could hear you.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was ignoring you. I was trying to sound you out.
Okay. All right. This I don't have to feel bad. Okay. 30 seconds.
I was trying to block you. Isn't that what a good pitcher does? It blocks out the noise. I was just focusing on the batter.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's
just playing catch in the backyard. Big moments doesn't mean anything.
Isn't it Perfect Game where he says, "Was it close the mechanism?" I think is what it is.
I think so. That's Kevin Costner.
The love of the game. That's
yeah.
Okay. That movie.
They have a good depiction of that, kind of getting that tunnel vision.
It's that one, and then did you ever watch The Greatest Game Ever Played?
I don't think so. No.
The Shia LaBeouf Francis We Met story. It's that.
Oh no! I haven't seen that.
Okay. Anyways, they do it in that too, but I digress.
Okay. All right. We'll put that back on the back burner here. But 30 seconds to retort to my convoluted response there. In 3, 2, 1, go.
So first of all, I just want to say that my opposition wanted to say I didn't give an answer. I did say that I gave 2 at the end. I entered it down, but I have so many that I want to make sure it's acknowledged, because any of these fight scenes are better than what Wes is bringing to the table. So you want me to? I don't need to pick one because they're all better. Common was like solid in this movie, but I just felt like the action in John Wick 2 compared
5,
to John Wick 4. I mean, not
3,
even close.
2,
done.
1.
Yeah, play that music. All right. Are we going to the bonus question, or are we saving that for later?
Yeah, this is a bonus question here, and then again, we don't have to do a timeout. I think we could have a little sidebar conversation here. Right? That's what happens in the courtroom sometimes, right? We ask for a sidebar. Better death by pencil. This is topical. I'm using all the jargon.
We should have a sidebar sounder. That is perfect. You know what, Wes? Your guy. So. I thought it was cool, like a cool callback when it happened for me, like in my movie. Like it was cool. Like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. But it was also like extremely random when it happens too. Whereas with yours, I'm like, it does kind of make a little more sense. It had been talked about in the movie, hadn't been seen before.
Yeah.
And your guy kills 2 people with it. So, and John Wick does it in yours. Mine's not even John Wick.
It's done through the ear, Freddy Krueger style, which is pretty crazy, and then like a couple jabs in the face too. Yeah, it's very. But again, that was a nice homage through it all too. And again, I don't want to make it seem like I hated John Wick 4. John Wick 4 was a great time. I'll give some thoughts on it a little later on. But yeah, this has to be John Wick 2. That's not a fair question there, because again, rewatching that scene and then just like watching some of the clips later on, like that was damn near orgasmic. It's great action stuff.
Yeah, when like I said, I rewatched some of your movie before this, and oh my god, like that. The only thing I would say against yours is that is some of the grossest stuff that was like when he first stabs the guy like in the eye area. It's like, oh, it's brutal.
It is definitely brutal, and that's some of the best stuff here. I think out of the whole series too, like all the guns are really cool. But when like you think about it, it's just like John Wick or whoever, Keanu Reeves, just like clicking a gun the whole time. Like that's like he's doing that like 90% of the movie. It's like not real, or just like kind of shooting and ducking and turning, like pew 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 pew. Like the hand-to-hand combat stuff is what really gets me going.
I was just also looking back to we actually reviewed the third John Wick.
We did, yeah. Oh, yeah. What episode is that? Throw that out for the people. I thought we did.
Episode 18, John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Oh, okay. All right, there we go. All right, yeah. I love that. So go back and watch that there.
I was just checking through because I wanted to see for our grades later. You brought that up, and I was like, oh, yeah, I want to see. But we didn't have anything, so alas. Anyways.
Okay.
I digress again. It is your turn to lead us off on the next question. Which movie features the better car chase sequence, Wes? You have 60 seconds on the clock. If my phone could work, here we go. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, so I think a staple for any good car chasing is a good car, right? We have that there. I believe that's like a Mustang, nice American muscle nonetheless there. It's at night on a slick, wet road, so the setting has to be right. That slick, wet road with the lighting, street lights, ambient lights, building lights, all that stuff makes for a great car chasing. We have all of that there. And also, it's in an industrial shipyard. So you got cabbies, you got bikers, you got like kind of like an ocean shipping container kind of setting there. You got a driver kind of putting the brakes on. He loves losing his door. So anytime you got someone flipping a door open, slamming on the brakes to kind of throw a biker over the top of his wheels, love that. Keanu Reeves is doing most of the stunt driving in this movie, as he does most of his stunts in all of this year. So that's not real feather in the cap, but it's cool to watch him do that nonetheless. And I think I'll concede the rest of my time.
Okay.
Oh, he's not afraid to crush people, run them over. We'll see that a couple times too. Damn it. I didn't pick my finger up off the piece yet. My move wasn't final.
Well, your time was up regardless. So
shit.
Yeah. I like how it stops you though, like right away. Like it's like you whatever you're saying, like people can't hear it. It interrupts.
Oh yeah, it's jarring.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, excuse me. Okay.
All right. You ready? 30 seconds on the clock here to retort.
Yeah. I was just kind of wondering if I want to just go straight into mine, though. I feel like that's kind of the better route for me to go here. So I'm just gonna go. Okay. Just give me the 30 seconds, and we'll see how things go.
Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
I think that's like when you look at car chase scenes, not always something that I care about. Spaceship scenes, I like that, but John Wick had somehow manages to make me care about car chase scenes a little bit more because he knows how to use the car like a weapon, and you actually see that in Wes's movie, which was kind of mind blowing, where he's just like perfectly just knows how to whip it around and like send a dude flying. That said,
5,
when you look at John Wick
4,
4, which I'll talk about in a second, it
3,
takes it to another level.
2, 1.
I'm glad I did that. All right.
All right. So now you get 60 seconds on the clock while John Wick 4 has a better car chase sequence. Let me reset the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
So that said, what I found so wild about John Wick 4, it felt like it was something that I don't know, haven't seen before or haven't seen all that often, and maybe they perfected either way, where they have all the car action, and John Wick's obviously got the doors blown off, and he knows how, or ripped off because he's taking guys out with his doors. Cool stuff. But then we see him have to get outside the car, and then all this other car action is happening around him. We've seen John Wick get hit by cars and some of these other characters, but it was like they took a serious beating from these cars, and then they have to like dance around. And that's something with John Wick. We've seen some amazing choreography, and I know at times we see John Wick get like a little like with the nunchucks in this movie where he gets a little like clunky because how he's exhausted and using weapons he's not familiar with. But that had a little bit of a beauty to it. And as much as that doesn't fall under car chase scene, it is in a way, I bunch that in because we're involving
5,
the cars in a way that
4,
makes it more challenging.
3,
time,
2,
done.
1.
Boom.
All right.
That was a pretty impression by me. I just want to say.
That was pretty. You're spot on. Yeah, you could have your own Law and Order.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Special Friars unit.
Maybe I should. God damn it. Just fucking go. I can't. Okay. Ready?
Yep, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
I don't really have much to say because the car chase scene was great, but other than the fact that you can't, sometimes the sequel is not as good as the original. Sometimes you want the original there, and in this case, I'm talking about the first sequel, not the third sequel, not the original John Wick, but I'm just going to stop right there. But, sometimes the original is not as good as the
5
copy.
There we go. Good.
Yep.
Done.
Lock it in.
I'm not playing it.
Send it up.
Okay. Oh man. The next question we have, which I know I'm leading off on, this might be my favorite part about the John Wick.
Agreed. Yes. I absolutely agree here. So we get 60 seconds on the clock for which movie features the better example of high class aristocratic style blending with the assassin lifestyle, aka the better James Bond moment. Mm-hmm. Feels like that's an appropriate way of surmising that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, 60 seconds starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
So you have Marquis de Gramo, who's got this absurdly rich home and obviously like a little bit less stylish and more bougie. Obviously, you have Killer's Club that, again, I was surprised that was his name. Couldn't fully understand it with the accents, but that where the raves happening and everything, you got the back room. That's really cool. And then you have the Osaka Continental, which was like one of I think the original Continental, the New York one, is probably my favorite. But this one, to me, like especially with all the action that you have mixed in here,
30 seconds.
The glass room is the room with all the art, I should say, is wild. But also what I like in this about John Wick 4 is we also see a little bit more of the nastiness too, right? We got that when we first brought in Lawrence Fishburne, but we also have Natalia, John Wick's cousin. Her place in Berlin is has more culty vibe, more dark underground vibe. And then Wick is kind of the mix of the two. So I like having those side by side in this movie. So it kind of made me appreciate the aristocratic blend a little bit more. Whew, that was close. All right, 30 seconds on the clock for your rebuttal, sir.
Yes, sir.
3, 2, 1, go.
Again, once again, I hate to bring this up. I'm asking for a singular example. This is not plural here, and you just can't. It just gives me a whole bunch of answers here. A big fence sitter. Wow. So when the matter comes down to it, is this person going to be able to give you a decision, 15. Or is he going to be discussing, being like, well, here's 3 ones, and then maybe you can choose your favorite out of the bunch, and hopefully that's enough to remind you of why you think I should be the one to save you.
5, 4,
Yield.
3, done. All right, good. I'm not playing the music. Done. Well, that was. You know what? Okay. I will talk about it in my 30 seconds. 60 seconds on the clock for you, Wes. 3, 2, 1, go.
Again, there's a bunch of options that you could choose from here, but specifically, I'm going to zero in on the gun shopping with the sommelier and getting tailored for his suit in the Roman Continental there. That whole scene, it's about a 3.5, 4-minute montage. Is about as top notch as you get, because you have Keanu keeping up with the secretive puns that they're speaking in the second language, with all of this big, robust, fruity wines, which are really referencing different guns. You got especially when they're talking with the tailor. This line's like, I like my style Italian, my jacket, 2 buttons, tapered trousers, and the lining tactical.
15.
So, we get the bulletproof suit here, which was on display heavily in John Wick 4, but this was kind of the birth of it. And then again, to finish it off with dessert, you get the finest cutlery for dessert there. So
4,
that back and forth with the actor, the sommelier,
2.
really does it over the top.
That was good. All right. Sorry.
No, I like that's good. It really
so
puts
rude.
a bow on it. Yeah.
It's so rude though, 'cause fuck. Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, 30 seconds on the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
So mark this down, everybody. This is the first time I'm going to give Wes credit because in our debates, because you know what, he's right. I misread the question and looked at it as more, which serves as a better example for of all that stuff, not specific example. So that's on me. That said, I still stand by what I said, because you have a lot of that cool stuff in this movie. In John Wick 4. Also, I do want to say, when I was rewatching your movie, this was like, I loved like this whole part again. Like, it was like I'd forgotten how well done it was. So. Okay, you want to stop me? I'll stop.
No, I was trying to stop the stop clock and that at the same time. I only have 2 fingers. I can't walk and chew gum.
Yeah. Okay. Who's leading off here? You are. Right?
I think I am. I'm up next year.
Okay. Do you want
right.
me to lead this one off? Would you prefer that?
That's very kind of you, Nick. After I've thrown you under the bus here on a couple of responses, that's very kind of you. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. No particular reason why.
No reason at all. Nick, which movie features the better use of its supporting actors? Okay, so we got 60 seconds on the clock on 3, 2, 1, go.
This isn't even a conversation. The fact that Wes added this question was like just to give me at least one guaranteed to win, where there was a lot of like toss-ups in this. You have Donnie Yen as Kane and he's from Rogue One. And I did not know that he could move around quite like this again. Like, actually, that's not true. He was amazing in Rogue One as well. Then you got Sanada, who plays Shimazu, that he's the Osaka Continental manager. We've also seen him play quite a few characters, but Scorpion is one that jumps out. 2 amazing, like, fluid with actors with their cane swords, respectively. You also have the Tracker, who's like got a cool backstory and all this. Katia, which not a whole lot of action out of her, but she's an interesting opposite to Wick as a family member. Clancy Brown was awesome in this movie. You talk about slugging percentage. He had a great presence about him. Akira, who is Shimazu's daughter, was really cool too. And then, of course, Fishburne, Riddick, and McShane, 3, of course, a great trio to round things out.
1.
Boom, shakalaka.
All right, got it in there right at the shot clock.
I mean, I just listed everybody off, but whatever. All right, Wes.
Now that's the appropriate time to do it.
I feel weird about it. The one time I should fucking be doing it. All right. Anyways, 30 seconds on the clock for you, Wes.
Yeah, 30 seconds on the clock.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, this movie, I almost have to yield this because it has such a strong use of its supporting actors that it almost fails to use its star actor in a more significant way, which I think John Wick 2 does a better job of, which is why I think it's a better movie ultimately. It's more centered around John Wick, and there's more of his story to tell. By the time you get to part 4, chapter 4, most of his story is already told. Nicely done. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, I'll go right into it here because it's not going to be a full 60 seconds. It's going to be a continuation of what I just said. But let's go.
Go ahead. Go.
Yeah, much like I said, this isn't really much like up for debate. Like Nick listed off like every great character in that movie, and they're all awesome, right? I mean, that's a part of what makes the John Wick 4 so great. And again, I don't think there's much of a story left to be told through John Wick through that vehicle. So that's where they bring in all these other characters. And he's looking like he's a little old in John Wick 4, so he needs someone to kind of maybe help carry the load of getting this beating of doing all of your stunts all the time. He seemed a little bit slower in the hand-to-hand combat movements there. But however, through this movie, I concede that John Wick 4 has the better supporting actors.
Well, there you go.
It's tough. You know, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Common's great.
Yeah.
Ruby Rose is great.
That's that's about all you got in this. Okay. Well, by the way, what I was trying to figure out before, well, go ahead and start my clock.
Okay, here. So 30-second retort on what I just said, if you'd like. On 3, 2, 1, go.
What I was trying to figure out before was I should look this up. Wes already made my case for me. Like I don't need to make any points, but I was trying to figure out with Donnie Yen if he's actually visually impaired or not, because he's played 2 visually impaired characters, both Star Wars and this one. And based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it's not the case, which I was actually kind of surprised by. But
that's cool.
Well, that would make sense that he he's able to do all the things he does, because obviously it's very complicated.
But he sells it though.
Yeah, he does. He does sell it. But anyways, just wanted to put that out there because I had no idea. But it makes sense too with because what's his face? Charlie Cox obviously does a great job as Daredevil in that regard too. But.
Yeah, and if we're talking about best performance by a side character, to bring in another trope from another episode that we do here real quick on John Wick 4, I mean, is it Kane or is it nobody? The tracker with the Belgian Malinois. I mean, I feel like those are the two that really jumped out to me. I don't know.
100%. I liked Shimazu a lot too. Obviously, he wasn't around for a long time, but I don't think it's up for debate. It has to be Kane in this. And also, if we're talking about like best performances for Ian McShane in this trilogy, I mean, this is the least that he was used, I think, as well.
Yeah, and I have to go back and watch it now because I'm might be blending the two movies here, but it looked like in one of the movies he just got veneers and he had huge chompers. Okay, yeah, okay, because it looked like he was kind of slurring his speech a little bit, and or maybe that like his lip was getting curled underneath his teeth. You know that like kind of if you have like dry mouth, that kind of happens.
Yeah, I mean he's old. I mean,
yeah. I just thought that was it. That kind of took me out of it a little bit.
Yeah, looks like I didn't realize he's 80. I mean, this was
really that old? Yeah,
this is the oldest though he had looked in one of these movies.
Also, kind of weird that like Lance Reddick was one of the first people to die in this movie.
Dude, I thought weird, that same thing. Like I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That
was a very jarring, like weird simulation moment there.
For real, that is exactly what I thought of in the simulation. But, anyways, we got one more question, right? One
more question here, and perhaps most important question, maybe outside of the best action sequence here. I think because what it comes down to, this is a John, singular movie for the most part, centered around Keanu Reeves in action, right? Those are the two things here. So, for the final question, which movie features the better use of Keanu Reeves in here?
Yes, and you are going to be leading us off on this one, Wes.
Sure will.
60 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Yeah, and I've alluded to this a couple times in my previous arguments here, but Wick, by way of Keanu Reeves, is way more motivated to get out from underneath the table in this, and Keanu seems more motivated to act his way. Maybe he's a little bit younger, maybe a little bit more spry in the legs. Maybe that's a reason for it as well. But so I think that's all just more evident here. He's less jaded by the reality and the enormity of the table here when we're talking about John Wick overall. And he doesn't necessarily want to die yet. So I think all those things, when you talk about the character of John Wick, I think that's you get a better use of him. But when you're talking about Keanu Reeves, again, like I mentioned in the last argument here, is this first two movies in John Wick 2 are really about John Wick. He's the main character. He's the guy who's on screen the whole time. The movie's called his title, his name. So I think it does a better job of that than John Wick 4, which relies on a great supporting cast.
Nice job.
I'm glad I got that one. And I haven't landed a whole lot of one here. It's the buzzer that's getting me. It's throwing me off a little bit.
This is true. I didn't even play it there. It's in your head now.
I know. Yeah.
So much for closing the mechanism.
Yeah.
You got to put that. You got to get a sounder in for our debates closing the mechanism.
It's like faking the timeout, letting the kicker actually kick because he thinks he's gonna get frozen.
Oh wow, yeah, icing him. Okay, all right. So 30 seconds.
There we go. Frozen. Yeah. 30 seconds on the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
Wes is absolutely right in the fact that there is more Keanu Reeves and more him talking. I couldn't find the exact number on this, like how many lines he has and everything, but I like Keanu Reeves, and obviously John Wick is basically just what if Keanu Reeves was an assassin.
15 seconds.
But is that always good that we're having him talk more necessarily, or do we want to mix things up in some capacity? And I will get into that a little bit more with my answer.
5.
And I can see the rest of my time.
Okay. 60 seconds for why John Wick 4 is the better use of Keanu Reeves. Going in 3, 2, 1, go.
John Wick 4, Keanu Reeves has 103 lines, which seems very small. I couldn't find like the average number, but it seems very small. 27% of them were single word lines. So obviously not a lot of talking for him, but guess what? That's where when John Wick is at his best, everybody else should be talking about him. Everybody else should be scared shitless of him. And he should just be punching faces in left and right. And that is what we get in John Wick 4. So when you ask who uses Keanu Reeves better, this is exactly the best way to go and utilize him. And that's part of why we fall in love with this franchise from the jump. Also, there is a little bit of internal conflict with him. And you don't necessarily need to have people talking to convey that, because we have the issue of what he wants, what he feels about his life. He has his friends that are getting drawn into all this too. And then in the end, where we let him die, this is what the character needs. He is tired. Fuck. You're playing tape of the... you're playing tape of the duel. Shit. But yeah, so it was just, I was trying to make the point that he died, and that's what the character needs at the end.
I was sorry, that was a cheap blow. I'll let you go a little bit longer there.
No, thanks. Yeah, I'm good. I got out what people would know what I was going for.
This is the last one. We're having a little fun here. It's a good time. We're having fun.
Be careful. All right, you got 30. You got 30 seconds on the clock. We still have our closing arguments too.
Yes, yes, we do.
30 seconds in. Retort West. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, again, I love that poll that you got there. What 108 lines, 120 lines, or whatever it was that Keanu Reeves spoke. That definitely stood out to me, so much so because they did so many close-ups of his face when he was speaking those lines. It actually sounded like he was in pain delivering them, which I just thought was funny. Like the way that they were coming out, like to actually form the words in his mouth was painful for him. And I don't know if that was like an acting choice because he is so internally and externally in pain, or that he's just having trouble speaking in general now.
Who did that? Wrong button. My bad. Okay. We have now.
Did you notice that at all? Like, I don't know. It just seemed like the words were like tough to come out of his mouth.
I mean, and that makes sense in this movie too, because yes, I did notice that. But it also, like, this makes sense. You're old, and this guy's been fighting basically nonstop for like 10 years now after being on the sidelines forever. Like, he hasn't even pulled a hamstring.
Well, I'm sure this is like not 10 years yet, and like his whole assassin life, but this John Wick saga is like what, 2 weeks?
No way.
I thought it was like, because the way John Wick 2 starts is just like a continuation from the last one, and I feel like John Wick 3 ends and John Wick 4 picks right back up, and I can't remember if 2 goes into 3 again, but I feel like they all kind of blend into one another.
I'm trying to see how much like time is spanned in his movies. It doesn't. Yeah,
because you get that right in the beginning, right, of killing the who's the Arab guy, right? That they're going in John Wick 4, and in John Wick 2, it's starting right off with the chase scene, going to the Russian guy.
So looking at least quick thing on Reddit, it's John Wick 3 is about a week long, and then John Wick 2 is about 1 to 2 weeks. And like you said, there's probably not a whole lot of time in between all these things. But even still, like, okay, so that makes a lot more sense from like a logistical standpoint.
Yeah,
it hasn't been 10 years that he's been fighting for this like one particular fight. It's been a few months, maybe even a year at the end of it all. But that's a long time for him. Just like, how is he sleeping in all this?
Well, I'm constantly asking myself that, and like, what is he eating to replenish all these calories that he's expounding? Like, I don't know how you have the physical energy to exert to, like, again, get in all these like hand-to-hand brawls with. I mean, in the case of John Wick 4, you have the the French guy, Bill Skarsgård, all his crew, who were just huge Jack Frenchmen.
Yeah.
Or Spaniards or something like that. I don't know, but Italians, something.
They
said. I feel like they said C a couple of times.
Spanish, so. Yeah. I think the first guy. I don't know. I think the first guy was Spanish, but anyways, that guy was a brick shit house too.
Yeah, all of them were huge. Yeah, so again, I don't know how he does it because he's a slender man.
Mm-hmm. It's those bulletproof jackets. It's just, ting, ting.
I know. At first, I forgot about the bulletproof jackets, and I'm like, "What are we doing here? What is it?"
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, we got it."
Yeah.
Okay, we're not done yet.
The whole time they're like huddled, like bang bang, like huddling, like Phantom of the Opera, just firing off guns at everybody the whole time, just peering over their jackets. I love it. I love the movie, but it's just kind of funny when you think about it.
It's ridiculous because when you think about it, because they're not really shooting these guns when they're on set, so they must look ridiculous because there's no sound around. You're just kind of taken out of the moment, and then again, it's just like pew 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 pew, and you're like, just a longer cowl away from being Batman. You can just instead of just pulling up on your jacket lapel, you just kind of crawl over and just block everything. So
exactly, yeah.
We've digressed a lot here, but this will be the last time we do it because we got the closing arguments here. All good though, all good in the hood. I'll take the first one here. Closing arguments and why John Wick 2 is a better movie.
60 seconds on the clock, Wes. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
So if you've been following along here, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, John Wick 2, the whole movie is about John Wick. The whole series is about John Wick. And by the time John Wick 4 comes out, it's more about everyone else coming around him and the lives that he's ruining by everything that he touches. He's a virus, much like the cordyceps, actually, to call back to another episode here. But John Wick 2, it gets to the heart of what we all love about it. We get John Wick, we got him kicking ass, and we get him with blades and hand-to-hand combat, and it's a centered, focused story, and most of all, it's short. It's not nearly as long as a 3-hour shoot-'em-up movie, which John Wick 4 was. It kind of insisted upon itself with how serious it took itself at the end of it. At the end of the day, you're a polished-up B movie. And maybe you don't have to think yourself a little bit more of that. John Wick 2 knows that and was that and is that and will be that.
What the fuck is that sounder? There we go. Yeah. All right. Okay. Wow. Saving the big punches for last. Okay. Cool.
Woo. Yeah. There we go. 60 seconds on the clock for your closing argument, Nick. For 3, 2, 1, go.
So, while I do really enjoy the second John Wick movie, and I do think that it was the best of the first 3 movies, this movie brings an end to the John Wick franchise. If they choose to go that route, of course, they could go and say an okie doke and everything like that. I hope they don't. It was a good ending for the character where he helped out those close to him. I wouldn't mind revisiting this universe. And this movie sets up for that in a few different ways. We get a few characters who we could spend time with later on down the line. But in the end, we get a ton of action in this. I mentioned we have serious ramifications. We see 2 out of the 3 staples in the John Wick franchise end up dying in this movie. And to me, when you see things like that happen in major franchises, makes things carry a little bit extra weight. Loved this movie and hope everybody votes for it. That first one is very subtle.
Yeah, it comes in slowly. Like a rolling thunder. Nice. Good stuff there. Okay. So that does it here. We'll put a poll out on Twitter at CMM_podcast. And we'll see who the people decide who won this debate between John Wick 2 and John Wick 4. And hopefully I don't have to read the cast and crews for upcoming exit surveys because it's been long overdue. It
has been a while since we've put out a poll. Not a while since we've done a debate, but it's been a while since then too. But
yes, that's also true. It might have been. Yeah, it's been longer since we've done a poll. I know that much.
Self-inflicted is what this has been, I think.
Absolutely. Here, let's play this. I forgot what this sounder is here to kind of put a bow on it here for the original versus sequel debate. John Wick 2 and John Wick 4. Wait, oh no, I just screwed up here. This is supposed to be this.
Oh yeah, that's way too long.
We've gotten a strike a couple of times and no one seems to care. They're like, it's okay, it's fine. So they're like, no, we're too small potatoes here. Once we start getting in like, the electric shaver money or like, the cigarette alternative money. What other big podcast advertisements are on there? True classic T-shirts. Athletic greens. Then they'll start coming after us.
You know who's very quick on the trigger is T Public. That's for sure.
Yes, yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, they're very vigilant here. But you got to be quick because sometimes the trains leave the station, the tickets sell out quickly, and you're going to miss out on the discharge depot because it's here.
Choo-choo, bitches.
All right, so it looks like we both watched something over this weekend that was unplanned, so that was nice. Great minds think alike here. Waco, American Apocalypse on Netflix. What'd you think?
Man, I did not know anything about this. I'd seen, I feel like a trailer for it or something like that. I didn't know it was like brand new coming out right now. I thought it had been out for a little while on Netflix, but I'd never heard this story before. This is absolutely batshit. I know you knew a little bit going into this, and I'm curious to hear like how you viewed it. But for Lauren and I, this was like we watched the first episode. Of course, it's 3 episodes on Netflix, so each like an hour popish. But totally, like so crazy stuff from the cult standpoint, per usual. But then you go and look at the what is it? The ATF? Is that right, Wes?
ATF, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the way that all of that was handled and like the division between the FBI and everything like that, and in the handling of this, it was the accounts that we got from this were very interesting. It was not a great look for all of them, and then in the end, I just can't believe that it's a friggin' reporter or something like that who like them off like inadvertently. It's just, what are you doing?
I know we were talking about that before the show, and that was the first thing my wife said when we were talking about it. It's like, how does the reporter just like tell like the mailman, right? And it's like, I can see that 100% because that's like, the unintended consequence. You get a tip there, but from his perspective, he's lost. He's trying to get there. So he's asking like the postman's going to know. He doesn't know that the postman's the Branch Davidian, right? So like, he just goes out and then says, and then it's like, hey, there might be a huge raid here with all these guns. Like, get out of town. Like, make all your stops. Like, get out of here as soon as you can. So, like, if he's just being like a genuine good citizen, that's like,
if that's
fault him for that.
Yeah, and the way they told it, it wasn't like they just said that that it was like told to the postman. So maybe he was actually being a good, like trying to be a good guy. And like, hey, you may want to skedaddle. That's fair. If that's what it was, then that's just unfortunate. But if he's just like, ask like, hey, what, why are you doing this? And he just told them just because he asked. Like, you need to have like a little bit better feel than that. Like you're a reporter. Like we know better than that. Just tell people straight up what the hell's going on.
I think that was the photojournalist too, which again, it's all in a newsroom, but maybe a little different mindset there. Sure. Maybe he's just trying to get to the scene, Sure. But yeah, no
problem with them asking. Like, to be clear, like asking where it was, like that totally does make sense. Like I get that.
No, but it is like the small thing that kind of sets all the dominoes awry here, and it's like again a fascinating story. I think. This, Ruby Ridge, Timothy McVeigh, the Unabomber, an Oklahoma City bombing, like all of those things kind of happened right around the same time. And that was like a big, like domestic terrorist, not push is not the right word, but, surge that kind of happened in like the early 90s.
Yep.
And this one's very interesting because this was the first time I'd watched the show with Taylor Kitsch on it. I've seen like other documentaries and heard it like referenced in like podcasts and stuff before. And it was always referenced with almost deference or like kind of siding with David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. Not condoning what they did, but from the sense that how far the U.S. government overreached and overstepped their boundaries and bringing tanks on. And again, how many hundreds of people kind of surrounding the place there, helicopters overhead it was a big overreach for what was private property there. And then again, the debate of who shot first. This was the first time I'd heard that said that the Branch Davidians had shot first. So everything had to kind of come from either an errant bullet, like a loose quick trigger finger by mistake from the FBI or ATF, or there was another group, which maybe this was the tactical hostage group that was interviewed in here, that took out a whole bunch of kennel dogs. It was a dog team. So they wanted like to first and foremost take out any dogs to like not alert them of being within the area. So they thought they heard that from in the background, and then that's kind of what set everything off.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a classic American Revolutionary tale, right? Isn't that kind of like the Boston Tea Party or the Boston Massacre? They don't know who shot first, and it might have been like an errand gun or like a drummer boy doing something at the same time. I thought it was some story like that, but
maybe
someone who's better at history would tell. But nonetheless, I thought it was interesting that they, with the angle that they told it from, almost from the perception of the ATF FBI.
It was like the manner in which that they like the division was the most like mind-blowing thing for me in all this, because it's like you have like both sides, like you have them saying like how we had issues, there was conflict in the end, like once you knew, because you knew that you had been like tipped off, like it's not like this group was it's like I get where like obviously the government screwed up when they were handling this, but it's not like this group wasn't on people's radar. Like we heard in this conversation, I don't know if you knew it prior to, but we heard in the docuseries that they had someone like as like a mole in there.
Right.
So
yeah.
Once you have that for these situations where like you go and make a move and then it's like we screwed up and like we've been had and heard and found out whatever.
Complete miscommunication.
Yeah, it's like it's just totally messed it up. And then just from there, it just gets worse and worse. It's wild how so many poor decisions were made in the course of that.
It's a great example of how, often people think of how like strong the government is, and they say like, oh, like, not to be like a big like 2A guy here or anything, but you say, oh, why do you need guns? This is a great reason why, because when the government comes down with its full force together, and they may not all be acting in coordination with the same thoughts and the same ideals of purity of America here, right? So you have like the negotiator who's trying to do his job there, but then you also have the undercover agent who's in with the Branch Davidians there doing his job there. But then you have these like gun-ho hostage rescue team guys who are just riding in complete conflict of what everyone else is trying to do. And those three jobs are all three are trying to do their jobs, but they're almost working in opposition of one another, because what the hostage team is asked to do is like be on alert and kind of get in and get out and make this as quick as possible, right? Kind of come in and out like a hot knife going through butter. But the negotiators are really drawing this out and trying to like get into a stalemate almost. So they're in the complete opposition of one another. So I don't know, like it worries me when you would have that many people operating together, why you would just assume that they are there to protect you. Well, it's a big roundabout way of doing it.
The other thing though is too like if we're not going to run into that kind of stuff, because like this is the group that they're dealing with is also like there's a reason they were on their radar too.
Oh yeah, sure, but all it takes is like like the Boston Marathon bombing, for example. Like Boston was in martial law. Like that's something that like hardly ever tanks were rolling around in the city for that point. So it doesn't take a whole lot. We just got out of a worldwide pandemic. Like.
This is definitely doesn't take a lot, and I'll tell you what. The other thing too, I don't know how I buried this in our conversation, but that one woman, who like they ended up getting her to leave early so she could see her son, and then they ended up like letting her see her son really quickly, and then they brought her off to jail. Like we're hearing her talk. I don't know about you, but to me, she was like next level. Like
this was the one who kept talking about her kids.
The
blonde.
Yeah, because there's really only two. There was only three women involved. It was the reporter, it was the woman who was a kid, and then there was the blonde who was a mother,
who had like the yellow dress on or something like that.
She had like black hair back then, I think.
Yeah.
She was something else, man.
Yeah, she was really into it, because like, and the way she was talking about it, at one point they were saying like some old guy was shot in his stomach and he was like begging to be put out of his misery.
I remember that. I'm just trying to remember who that was.
And there was a couple people telling that story, but it ends with this woman here, the one with all the kids, saying, so we ended up putting him out of his misery. And she said it so coldly, while the other people who were telling the story were like really broken up about it. I turned to Jules. I was like, she definitely shot him. Like she was the one who did it.
Oh.
And they even referenced at some point, I think she was like part of the Magic Men or whatever, that smaller group as well. So like they trusted her to do shit. Like she was like, one of the women who was not afraid to get her hands dirty. I think she shot that guy.
She might have, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear that. And I mean, there was so much like. What's wild is that may not even be the craziest thing that that came out of her mouth. That isn't the craziest thing that came out of her mouth in the course of her interviews. So I'm just wondering if we're going to hear more about that person, because she was outside of David Koresh, like she was the most like, what the fuck is going on with you person in this entire story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And correct. I feel like they didn't really spend, like, again, with the focus was all on the military or the government's response to it.
Yes.
Like they just really brushed over, like how the Branch Davidians kind of started. You know, like they got right up to the day that the siege happened.
Yeah, they talked about it was a little bit in the second one, and I was like glad they did, because I'm watching the first episode. I'm like, this is really interesting, but like, who are these people? Like, can you tell me a little bit more? And then we got some of that information. But it was
Now I know this was like a documentary here, a docuseries, but what I liked about the show a little bit better is that, and again, you kind of got to do this because David Koresh is kind of the main character of the show, and I think it's just called Waco as well. But they present both sides very well. Like, so of course there's like, you see the downside of the cult. But they also see like that, like it's just a religious group that's kind of like a secessionists. They're just kind of like separationists, maybe is a better term for it. But of course, like with anything with cult, everything gets like sexual and everything like that. And there's like mind control involved. But you see like that they're almost like Amish people to a degree, but with like a little bit turned up to a degree.
I always forget, is mind control more dangerous or is it brain control? I can never remember which one's the tougher one.
It's true. I think the brain controls the mind.
That's true. I don't know. Shit. You know what I'm going for there, right?
No.
Oh, it's a Dinner for Schmucks reference.
Oh, okay. I can see. Okay, that makes sense there. Yeah. Okay. Talk about a cringy movie. I'm surprised you're referencing that.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's probably the thing. That, and then
that's like worse Michael Scott. That's turned up Michael Scott.
Oh, for real? Because the other quote is with him, right? Was people call me a dreamer, or people say I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, that's it's one of those things.
Mine's a terrible thing.
I couldn't rewatch that though. I can quote it a little bit. So him, Rudd, Galifianakis. Yeah. Anyways,
it's tough. It's tough there. What do we got? But that's it though. So Waco, I like that. So we spent a little time talking about that. This week in the DSG, what do we got brewing?
John Wick 4. Obviously, we talked about it. Hashtag Dorcas talked about it. Mac and Goo talked about it. PCP. It looks like they're like kind of actually back. Maybe? Yeah. Back-to-back weeks, they've done stuff.
Don't hold your breath, though.
Scream 6, and then now we have must-see WrestleMania matches from them as well. I've heard it both ways. I don't think they did an episode last week. It's been a little bit for them. Season 5, episode 14, though, of Psych is their next episode on the docket. And as I mentioned earlier, Bartosz Stibber, who writes The Witcher for Dark Horse Comics, was on TLDR this week. You'll have to listen to that later on in the week as well. And then the streamers, Doc is at Backcracker on Twitch. Shime is at Shime Time on Twitch. And then the hashtag Dork Boys do all their video game playing on the hashtag Dork YouTube page.
Yes, and as for next week, Nick, in preparation for Super Mario Brothers movie, we are going to be doing a rewatch of the original Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action one starring John Leguizamo and some other people as well. So that might be, kind of filing under the unwatchable rewatch vault.
Yes.
The unwatchable vault. I think Ghost Rider might be in that. Maybe another one's in there as well. But I wanted to say Mortal Kombat, but that wasn't it. You love that movie.
The first Mortal Kombat, the
Scorpion's Revenge, the anime.
Oh, get out of here. Yeah, we need to bring in a third party if we're going to have a real conversation about that.
Yeah.
All right, so until next week then.
Yeah, same bat time, same bat place as always.
Stinky.